Oh yeah, it is live.
Yo.
Yay. All right, go get your drink.
I gotta go get something to drink.
I have water. Here.
I'm very thirsty.
There you go. In my...
All right, well, just like hold down the fort. Don't let anyone else start.
Well, they have to chat in the chat box because I don't know. It's like a different platform than normal. I don't know what's going on. I can't see the behind the scenes.
Maybe I should monitor the social stream in case people are having problems.
Well, I can go do that. I can check. But I think I need somebody to say hello, like they know that it's live. Anybody? Aren't you going to do your thing that you do, Bueller? What'd you say?
It says 0 viewers.
All right. Should be.
Does that mean they don't know how to start?
All they have to do is press play on that Google Doc, that Google page. So don't press play on yours because otherwise you'll get that dual thing. You could put a note in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, I was going to turn off Facebook, but then I can't tell if anybody is commenting.
I have a second computer.
Oh, you're good. Hold up, I'm just hitting live on it once. I'll turn it off. Oh yeah, it's working. Okay, it's good. So I don't need to have Facebook on?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because you have your other computer, you can check stuff?
I can.
Okay. Aren't you going to go get your drink quickly? Go run. Run.
Okay.
Facebook is like going nuts right now. I can't handle it. Listen. Run. Okay, so I don't know if anyone even can hear us yet. This is so weird, this new platform. Dan's downstairs getting water. I wonder if the chat box. Check the comment. But you have to have, okay, so Sean Ann told me, cool. So if you click onto it, can you see the updates? That's my question there. Okay, now I'm going to hear it dual. The chat box show up here.
What? What's that?
Oh, I was back on the Google page reading about the chat box, and they said they have to exit out to do the chat box.
What?
I know, this whole platform, it's all new. It's all new. You and your dual screens, you can do it.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't go back and forth.
I can't either.
But it says group chat.
I see group chat on mine too. I see it, and you sent the link to the upload. Oh, here, let's see if someone's commenting. I hear the doo-doo. Okay.
So I don't know everything about all these platforms yet.
I don't either. It's a good thing we did that live hangout last night to figure it out.
Yeah.
At least a portion of it.
So we're about to change to a permanent system. We're going to use Webinar Jam, which is, wait, we can't even hear if we have an echo, right?
I know, and there's no group chat, so I don't even know. Ron, though, in Free Weekly Mastermind said I can hear you guys just fine.
Okay.
So I'm going by him. He's the authority. I'll ask him, Ron, is there an echo?
So,
No, wait.
Control room. I see the control room.
I know. I see the group chat.
Cameraman. Oh, well.
I know. Come on, Ron. I'm waiting.
What, Ron knows something?
Well, he says I can hear you just fine. That was the last thing, so I put the call out to action. Someone leave a comment in the group in the Facebook Free Weekly Mastermind forum.
Okay, so tonight we're doing making money online 3 ways. We're only going to do 3. Like, how many ways are there to make money online? There's like 1,000. There are 1,000, at least. And
I think there's 1,001.
What's that?
I said there's 1,001.
Yeah, maybe there is. So then the question is, if there's 1,000. You know, some people just get shiny button syndrome and they end up like trying 80 instead of perfecting 1. So tonight we're going to talk about 3. We're going to talk about 3 in some detail, and in the, well, I don't even know where we put it now. I'll email it to you after. You could take notes with the checklist, but I put it like on the event page.
You know what? I'll put it in on the Google page. I'll put it as a comment right now.
It's the link to the the document. So we're going to attempt to go through 3 separate things. Now, all of these things we all are using, but maybe not as good as we could be. So the first one that we're going to talk about is advertising. Now, I said 3 ways. There's like 100 ways to make money advertising. So we're going to talk about the kind of advertising revenue you get from networks like BlogHer and AdSense. We're not going to talk about selling private ads. We can always do that another time. But at some point in time, we got to focus down and just talk about something and learn it and do it. So we're also going to talk about products. Now, we're not going to talk about fire sales. We're not going to talk about joint ventures. We're going to talk about selling products on your site. Now, it's easy to make a product and put it for sale, but we all have seen people who have products for sale that don't sell because there are steps. There are requirements from a buying standpoint, from a buyer. We're going to go over those requirements. And then finally, in my handy-dandy sheets of joy, we're going to go over small sponsors. Now, we're not talking about getting Home Depot to sponsor your site, because we can do much better with small sponsors, people who we can converse with, we can trust, we can form a relationship with, and we can move them from one month to the next. Now, we can all go for Kroger and Home Depot and
Target.
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh? Where did that come from? Like in your realm of thinking, I'm going to think of big people, and I'm going to come up with Oshkosh. It's like thinking of the museum company from years ago.
Because I went to their corporate offices in Atlanta once, and it just, I don't know why, it just popped up.
So it's stuck in your realm of large, big sponsors, Oshkosh.
And I really wanted to say Oshkosh bagosh.
Yes, it's very Minnesotan, Wisconsin-like, so thank you.
So we're going to start with, since I clearly cannot ask people which one to start with.
Well, I figured out how to do it, but we can't do it on this Hangout. We'd have to resend it. You have to enable the Q&A app prior to starting.
What?
Yes. So okay. I will, it's okay. I will monitor as much as I can.
What?
Yes. We're learning. It's a learning. Always moving the snowball, Dan, moving forward.
I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of Google Plus yet. There's a lot of buttons that just aren't normal.
Well, it isn't normal because you would think like, oh, maybe somebody wants to enable it during the call, but no, we have to do it before. It's like planning.
Apparently we don't have a Google Hangout checklist yet. We're going to make that now.
Yes, I have it on the notes right now.
So we're actually going to do this call in reverse, even though you don't know what that means.
It's cool.
The first thing we're going to discuss, let's just go with ads, because ads are good. Ads everyone should use because the data we can get from ads can help everything else. So we're going to start with this question. what are 3 things that you would have had to do if your AdSense revenue went up this month after having been on your site for many months? We're going to work our way backwards. So you've got AdSense on your site. We're just going to use AdSense as an example. It could be Blogger or whatever network you're using. And we've got the network on your site. They've got the code in the different places. You've been making a couple of dollars with ads. So my question is, we're like in month 5 or month 25 or month 85. And then what 3 things are we going to do to make the revenue go up? Now, our next question is going to be, what do we do the first month? And the next question is going to be, how do we even get started? So we're going in reverse. So what should we do to actually increase our ad revenue this month? Question is, how do we, there's 3 ways to make money online, and this one is ads. So you got ads on your site for a while. There's 3 major ways to raise the income. Major. The first one, and the very easiest to understand, is more traffic. Logic, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody has any problem with this idea. The more traffic you have, the more impressions you get, the more clicks you get. Now, sometimes more traffic doesn't necessarily mean more people coming to your site. Now, I'm sure that you have been on MSN.com or something like that, and they have said, come check out the 10 best colleges for fall leaves. And you click on it, and it takes you to a page, and it's just one picture of one college, and then there's a button that says next, like a slideshow.
I rebel against that, Dan.
You rebel?
No, because I know what they're doing. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not clicking the next one because I know it's all about it. Because I see it, I'm like, oh, they're so clever. I'm done. I only want the first one.
So these companies that do these slideshows, or they have the read more, or in WordPress you can use the next page button. You get halfway down an article, you go to the next page. We can easily increase the number of page views, which means more money from ads, by doing that kind of thing. Increase the traffic, increase the page views. So one of my favorites is next page, and it's like caret, exclamation point, next page caret. And I can give you the code, but what it does in WordPress is it takes an article, it splits it into 2, but on both pages is the same comment section. So if somebody left a comment, on your article and it's long, and you do the next page thing, that comment shows up on the next page. So you don't miss out. And if you can get people to go to 2 pages, just like all of the major sites, and you do it all the time, then we increase the number of page views for our ads. Yay.
I love that one too, because if the content's good enough, they're going to want to click over to the next page, and it's easy.
Yeah,
and no one thinks about it even. Like, oh, I'm going to go to the next page.
Sometimes they're annoying. Like if there's 30 top 30 things, and you got to go to 30 pages.
Yeah, that one. That's the rebellion one.
Yes, and some people do put that button that says "Show full page" or "Show full article," which I'm good with too. But next page is an easy thing. So traffic. Now the other part is, what if we just bring more traffic? I mean, that's not as easy as it sounds, but more people would obviously mean more money. So this is probably the most logical, easiest one to think of. So the number 2 is better keywords. So ad revenue is almost entirely derived by what the advertisers are willing to pay. If they're, I use the example of Weather Alert Radio versus weather all the time. The Target and Radio Shack, they all make a Weather Alert Radio, and they're willing to bid on ads for whenever that word shows up on the page. But neither of them are going to bid for the word weather by itself. So if you want to increase the ad revenue after a while, then you start writing more commercial terms. And what I mean by commercial is anything that you would search for on Amazon, if you make a page about that, your ads are going to pay higher. So that was number 2, better keywords. And then number 3. Now we haven't gone backwards yet, so we haven't done this yet. But if you're several months down the road and you have your AdSense dashboard set up, you should know exactly which pages of your website are making money. So in our sidebar, we should be directing people to those pages. They should be in the sidebar of our emails. They should be the subject of our emails. We should be driving people to the pages that pay the most. And if we are diligent about that, if we code our own related pages widget at the bottom instead of using nrelate or something like that, then we can decide what pages people are directed to. So if we've been doing AdSense for a while and we can see from our dashboard where we're making money, we can easily make more money by sending more people to the pages that pay well.
Dan, I love that one, the idea of coding and figuring out the top pages that you have. It's so easy, and you can put it at the bottom or even on your sidebar. And I've noticed since I've even done that, it does drive traffic there because people kind of want to click like, what is this? Like they see that. So that's cool.
Yes, definitely cool. And you control your own destiny. You want to make more money today, then tweet out, Facebook out, stumble, dig the pages that make you money because people are going to go there. If you focus on it, they'll focus on it. All right. So that is 3 different ways that we can increase the revenue of our AdSense or of our ad earnings if we've been doing it a while. Now, how are we going to derive revenue from ads in the first place? Like, we're just starting. Now, the first thing, clearly, we just talked about it, is traffic. So, ads are a way to monetize traffic. The problem that some people get into is that they monetize traffic, but they monetize the wrong pages. So they put AdSense on the page that's about weather in San Francisco. But there isn't any companies bidding on the weather in San Francisco on that keyword. Nobody thinks that you're going to buy something. So those ads don't pay very well. So just when we're getting started, we want to make sure that we match the monetization source with the page type. So if the page is about something you can buy, then AdSense is a, and for that matter, some of the network ads, those are great ways to monetize those pages. If your page is about the feelings that you felt when your daughter turned 3 and she skinned her knee going down the hill on a toboggan.
Who would write about that? Just kidding.
Then maybe a sled manufacturer will bid in that spot, but the feelings that you have about your daughter going to first grade for the first time and crying, and this is not a way to monetize with ads. We've got to monetize another way. So that brings us back to the keyword quality. We have to know, is this page something that I would search for on Amazon or is it not? And if it's not, then we're going to use something else. Now, I'm a huge fan of the custom sidebars, as you all know. So if your page is about those feelings that you had when you dropped your 6-year-old off at first grade for the first time, and how teary-eyed you got, and
which can be a traffic driver. Don't forget that.
I mean, yeah, it's look at Rachel's site. Her site is about everything that's non-commercial all the time. So if it's about non-commercial things, then how about we put advertisements that we create with PicMonkey, which I don't like, but
I know, I'm surprised you said that.
Which we can talk about some other time, but I don't like them. They're rude.
No, you do not. They are rude. You are right. Now you're going to have them all wondering.
Yes. So if you use GIMP, my favorite, and we create an ad, we can drive people in the sidebar of those non-commercial pages to commercial pages. So if the page is about you are enough being a mother, how about drive them to the green bean casserole page? Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Well, it might be okay, like you're enough because you make green bean casserole and it's still good enough, but it could be.
But if that green bean casserole page is paying $1.75 per click, I'm thinking that I'd like to get my readers over to that page. Instead,
yeah, that's true.
I don't want them clicking some 2-cent ad or 8-cent ad when they could be clicking $1.75 or a $12 ad, or in the case of Los Angeles personal injury attorney, a $180 or $200 per click ad.
I still haven't figured out how to work that in my site. I've thought and thought. Tried. It's not going to work.
You could write about moms who are Los Angeles personal injury attorneys.
Oh, wouldn't you like that? Let's.
You could say, you too, mom, who's a Los Angeles personal injury attorney.
You matter, and you're enough too.
You are enough.
Yes.
That is classic. Ah, that's good stuff.
That's my new sidebar ad. I'm making a custom sidebar just for that.
Maybe we should find all the keywords that pay really, really well, and you can print them out.
Okay, let's do it. Challenge on.
Some of them we don't want, actually, now that I think about it.
No, I'm just thinking about it too. Might not go with the whole Finding Joy thing. Well, maybe it would. Never mind.
Some of the high-paying ads are for gambling and some other activities you probably
Yes. Yes, I mean, so it could work in the name structure, but it might not work with the audience.
You, mom, who's addicted to gambling.
Oh, my word.
You are enough.
Yes. Okay. Rein it back. Bring it back.
Yes. Okay. All right, so then the third part, we're just getting started. Our third thing is eyeballs. If people can't see them, they can't click them. If people don't scroll so that they populate the page, you don't get the impression. So in an impression network, if your ad is at the top, or excuse me, if your ad is in the footer and nobody scrolls to the footer, you're not making that money. Like, it's not going to happen. So no, there was no impression. So eyeball. So that means that from the beginning, we have to design our site so that people can actually see the ads. Now, an example that I have usually is if you put a big picture at the top of your post, and yet your main ad is, let's just say it's a click ad, and it's above your header, then as soon as somebody comes to the page and they scroll down to see the picture, the header is gone. Like, they're never going to be able to click that. And other people have, like, you know, a lot of the recipe sites will have a picture of food and then a couple of words and then another picture and a couple words. So you just keep scrolling down because these pictures, they just keep dragging you down, like, oh, I got to see what that picture is. But if the ads are all at the top and, you know, you get 6 pictures down and all of a sudden the sidebar is bare or there's nothing in the ad itself, then we're not making any money because, one, they can't see it. You can't click something you can't see. So we have to actually design our site if we're going to make money with ads so that people can see them. Now, if you go to porchideas.com, my folks' site, you'll see that it is well optimized for ads, and they do very well with the ads. So sometimes it pays to sacrifice a little beauty for some money. Sometimes. I know it's hard. But I will say, for instance, if you decided to put an AdSense ad at the top left-hand corner of every single post that you write, you know, right inside the post, it'll be a little bit different for you. But if you do that for a month and you multiply that income by 12, then you'll know how much that was worth. And then you could make the decision, was that worth it or not?
Dan, I think that's awesome because, you know, on my site, which is obviously not a very commercial site, you have put AdSense there, and I kind of struggled with it because I like things to look a certain way, but let me tell you, I stopped struggling once I get that little alert in my inbox saying, Google AdSense has paid you your, you know, has put money in your account, so I don't even care. I love it.
Yes. So first we started with, what if you've been doing it for a while? How do we make more? And then the second we went to, if we're just getting started, what do we do? And then the third was, now I'm going to talk about how do we get started, period. Now, if you don't have any ads on your site, then I mean, there's lots of opinions, right? I want you to start with AdSense. Why do I want you to start with AdSense? Because of the dashboard, because of the reporting. I want you to get the data, the unbelievably good data. Like, you can learn what every single pixel on your site is worth, what above the header is worth, what below, what the first spot in the sidebar is, the second spot, the third spot, the fourth spot, in the post, at the bottom of the post. I want you to figure out what is everything worth. And if you can do that for, you know, 10,000 page views, 20,000 page views, so we can get some actual data from your pages, then you start to build a picture, and we build what's called a baseline. Now I know what my ad is worth in the top right-hand corner of my sidebar. Sidebar position 1, as I call it. So now I have some knowledge before I go out to get a new network, before I go check out the Blogger network or any of these other networks. Now, if I have a baseline and I put this new ad in there, I will know whether or not this company, this new network, is paying me well or not. Otherwise, I don't know. There's just no real data. So I want you to start with AdSense because I want you to create a baseline. we want you to know how much is each spot worth. Now, the second thing is, what if you do have an ebook? What if you're selling an ebook? Wouldn't it be nice to know how much money you would make in your top right spot with an ad versus how much money you would make with an ebook button or ebook sale? Without having really good data, we can't even start to figure out which one is better than the other. But once we figure out which one is better, we can make really good business decisions. What do we put there? Do we put that Facebook button there ever? Like, I personally, you know, if I've done your website review, I've probably told you, I'm not sure that I want you to put all of those social media buttons on your site before you get them on your list. Now, if
I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I say too. Phew, good, we're on the same page.
If you use our sidebar ladder plugin, then as soon as somebody gets on your list, that whole ad that's, you know, that says subscribe to my list, it can go away, and in its place you could put the social media buttons, which would mean the only people that get to see your social media buttons are the people who made it onto your list or who are in your community that you can reach.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would that be? And then people who've actually elected to be on your list now have the option to be Facebook fans, which means more comments and more engagement, because the only people that are fans are people who are already engaged. Good stuff right there. So if we're getting started, I tell you that I want you to use AdSense. Now the second reason, which is almost tied to the first, is I want you to code the ads so that you can learn data. That means a separate code for every ad. Now, if you put it in the right-hand sidebar, then that's going to be on every single page. I'm okay with that. But if it's in the very top right-hand corner, make sure that you don't move that down a spot, because then you'll screw up all the data. You want to know the data for that single spot. Now, what you can do is you can actually have channels for your seasonal pages, your holiday pages, your special pages, where you just want to see how much money, you know, specific pages are making. You can do any of that kind of stuff in there. We can help you with that if you want. We can help you set up the dashboard, all that kind of stuff. And we have a couple of videos on how to do it too, so you can do it yourself. But I definitely want you to have the data so that you can make decisions. And I'll even, if you want, I mean, I'll even sit down with you month in, 2 months in, and help you go through the data. We can learn from it. I can show you all the stuff that you learned by doing it right. Here's what you should know now. Here's what your base rate should be if you're going to sell a private ad, because you're going to make this much with AdSense. Don't sell it any less than this, or you'll be taking money out of your family's mouth. So all that kind of stuff. I want you to know that with AdSense.
I think, too, with the impression ad networks is to really look behind the scenes at the logistics of the ad network. I've been involved with, I've had a Blogger ad for probably 4 years now, but there are specific rules that tie me to that ad. And you and I will go over the statistics of it and figure out how much it's paying and how much it's worth, and if it's worth keeping it in that top spot all the time, because it, you know, with them it has to be above the fold. So you got to weigh it, and really that's where knowing what every pixel of your website is valuable. Woo! Did you just take a drink?
I just said woo.
Okay. Woo.
I thought that the video would come back to me. I was feeling a little bit, you know.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was feeling like you were hogging the video for a second.
I know, I'll have to duke it out later. Woo! I know. Woo! It's like the podcast, back and forth. I'm waiting for your segue, and then I'm like,
all right. So since there are so many questions,
I've been checking. No, I've been checking. That's why I've been I've been on there. They've been you know, they've been trying to get it to work, and then they love. Okay, let me see. Sherry asked, how do you do that? As in, have your social media buttons show up only for list members? That's the sidebar ladder plugin, I believe.
Yes, that's our sidebar ladder plugin. If you just go into BC Prime, it's free for all the members.
Mm-hmm. And then Eileen said, if your sidebar is on the left, should the post ad be on the left too?
So there's no should, period. And it doesn't really matter whether your sidebar is on the left or the right. What we're trying to do for your specific site is test every single spot, whether it's left or right or top or middle or bottom. Now, you will read occasionally on Facebook, somebody will say, I moved my sidebar from the left to the right and I'm making so much more money. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what? That is 100% true every time. Because all of a sudden, people who had ad blindness, who came to your site regularly and did exactly the same things and didn't look in the sidebar because they know exactly where they're going, all of a sudden they start seeing stuff again. So you have to weigh that with people who will get frustrated because they can't find stuff again, versus how much money you're going to make. And now that money is going to go back down to normal, where it was before, in short order, unless you change something drastic. And sometimes, if you have a site where when you come to the home page, it is a bunch of thumbnail, and then next to it is the summary, and then thumbnail, summary, thumbnail, summary. The eyeballs go to the thumbnail pictures, and if they're on the left, and you move your ads from the right to the left, then your ads are going to be much closer to where the eyeballs are, which means you have much, much better chance of increasing your ad revenue at that time. Should have had that in my bullets.
You should have. I was wondering about that.
All right, so we're going to move on to products. We can always come back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I've been watching. I've got trying to do this dual
screen. So we're going to start. We're going to go backwards again. So my first question is, what if, or how did we get somebody to buy the 4th product from us? So if somebody has bought 4 products from you, how did that happen? How did that 4th product even? How did that get sold? And we're going to work our way back to how do we get ready to sell the very first product. So if somebody's buying the 4th product from you, then what does that say about the previous 3? Now, I think it says that the previous 3 products they bought were good. They solved the problem, they were exactly what the person needed, or they were enough of what the person needed that they continue to buy them. So as we're building products, and you can think ahead to 4 products, is the one you're building good enough that somebody will buy your second? So the question is, what does it take to get someone to buy the 4th? Now, the first 3 not only were good enough, they were needed, they were valued, but after reading them, the person was satisfied. Sometimes that's not the case. You have people who just buy crap and then go. But for the most part, good businesses are built on, look at Nissan and Chevy and Ford. If you have a bad experience, do you go and buy that brand again? Most people end up saying, I hate Ford. I had one in 1976.
Yes.
It ran out of gas.
Found on the roadside ditch. Yes.
So if your products are good, people will buy them again. The first 3, if somebody's buying the 4th, could be 3 parts in a 4-part series. They could be steps, like we talk about the ladder all the time. Mm-hmm. It could be that you're training someone to be a photographer, and the first 3 are 3 of the first steps that they needed, and they're continuing to move up the ladder. And each one pre-sells the next. Now that you learned how to use the SLR, let me show you how to use the different lenses that come with the camera. So think about that in your product. How do we get that fourth one to be sold? Now, this one's a little bit obvious, but if somebody bought the 4th product, that means that they found the sales page. That means they found the buy button.
And that the buying process was easy, too, because sometimes if things get too complicated.
Yes.
Yeah, they're out.
That whatever was on the 4th page, the sales page, was enough to convince them to spend money on it. People just don't spend money willy-nilly. They definitely think about pretty much every purchase. I mean, just think about your life. How many times you just give money away? Like, yeah, I'll just pay for 2 tickets to the movie even though I'm only going to see 1. It just doesn't happen. People don't do that. They buy stuff that they need. Mm-hmm. So if they found the sales page, does that mean that they were on your email list and you emailed it to them? Does that mean that you put the sales page on Facebook? Does that mean that the sales page is able to be reached by the home page of your site? How did they get to it? That's the question.
I love that suggestion about Facebook. I just was going to bring that up because a lot of times on Facebook with these reviews, I'll see like them leading from Facebook to another social app, but the ones that are super powerful are the Facebook ones that I see lead from Facebook back to the site or Facebook back to the product, because then there's the revenue. Otherwise, you're just spreading people out everywhere.
Sometimes the fourth product is sold when you upsell the customer on the freebie 4 times. Sometimes when you sell a product and you offer another product and they've just bought 2, they only have to buy 1 more product to get to 4. Upselling sounds like such a sleazy thing, doesn't it? Like, now that you've bought this, you're going to need this. But if you think about it a little bit different way, nobody buys anything against their will.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody buys, like Amazon, they make 25% of their money from that thing in the bottom that says people also bought.
Mm-hmm.
People don't
They do
always,
that little bundle thing, yes.
People don't always find all the stuff that they're looking for the first time around. They get to the sales page, they want your recipe book, and if you upsell them, if you ask them right then and there, would you like to get our meal planner as well for an extra $3.99? What if they just hadn't found it before, or they were looking for it, or they didn't even know it was there? So the upsell can certainly be a service. You're upsold every single time you go to the grocery store and you look at that candy bar rack. That is an upsell. You've already filled your basket. Before you leave, would you like to buy a candy bar? And at what point in time have you thought...
Like this? Right here? In my purse?
But at what point in time have you thought to yourself, man, this Target is so spammy. They want me to buy something. And then the checkout, they want me to buy something else. It just doesn't happen. It's just the natural process of sales.
I don't think you think it's spammy. It's like having the bananas in the cereal aisle. It's all that type of stuff. I think if you look at it as not the upsell, but rather as you're really serving people, just like you're directing them from post to post where you want them to go. People like a deal too. Like, here's this, like you said with the cookbook, if you want the planner for only $3.99, I'm going to bundle it together. And then it's like they're grateful for that deal.
So let's take a different tact. Let's go one step back. What does it take for somebody to have purchased your product for the very first time? Now, a lot of people struggle at this point because they don't know what to make. And if you saw our video today, we did a video review of Brittany Bullen's book, Top 10 Secrets of Successful Mommy Bloggers. One of the things that she pointed out in there is that products have to be needed and valued. There's lots of things that people need, but they don't value them. They're not willing to fork their money over for them. So when you're putting together your first product, if somebody is going to buy that product, they have to have felt this is something they needed and something they valued. That's our first thing. Now, that's sometimes hard to do. How do we figure out what people value? One of the easy ways is to go to Amazon. Is the thing you're thinking about already being sold? Because if it's already being sold, that means people are valuing it, and if you have your own version of it or your own take on it, you might as well sell it too. That's a good indication. If you go to dummies.com and look for a dummies guide, Dummies does a ton of research before they allow someone to create a new book on whether or not there's a market for it. So if there is a dummies guide on the topic that you're willing to write a book on, then you can rest assured there have been research done and there is a market proven. That's another good place to figure out whether or not it's needed and valued.
I think our readers give us clues too. I know that sometimes they'll just say, oh, I would love this if it was in a PDF format, or do you have this in an ebook, or sometimes they'll start to give hints of things that they like. It's just really starting to pay attention to that conversation that's going on about what you're writing, and you can start even to look at your own analytics and what is traffic driving, and that will often give a theme to a product that could be created too.
That brings up something I've never thought about before.
Oh, cool.
I do this thing when when a friend of mine mentions that they like something, I write it down on my calendar near their birthday. So, for instance, I know that my high school friend Melissa Ryan happens to like popcorn from this place in Chicago a lot. So last year on her birthday, I called that place and had popcorn sent to her house, which she thought was the coolest thing in the world.
You are honestly one of those friends that everybody wants to have you as a friend. You're like, well, I'm not joking. The bar is right here. Dan Morris's book on friendship.
Well, it was pretty cool, I will say.
That is so cool.
And I just had noticed it in a Facebook stream that she said she really liked popcorn from this place. So, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but if people are telling you things that they like, why don't you write them down in something? My audience likes, and just start writing down things. Even if
they do tell you. I think back to when you and I were in a mastermind 2 years ago, and I would get on the call and I'd say, you know, Dan, they're asking for my Dear Mom letters together, and you're like, let's put it into an ebook, and that just snowballed. So they were already saying, like, we like this, we want this in a product form, and it was just kind of us deciding, let's put it into a product form.
And Facebook's like a social experiment. So if you write down the things that your audience wants, and one of them is just totally unrelated, but you know it's on Amazon, and you can post it one day and say you like this too. You know, why not? Your audience has said they liked it. Take advantage. All right. So back to the product. If somebody bought a book from you for the very first time, we decided they already thought it was needed and valued. Now the next thing is almost a little bit more important. They feel like you, the seller, they like and trust you in this realm. So I was telling Rachel earlier today that I wondered if she could sell cars on her site. If she could recommend a car to buy, if people would go out and buy that car. And I'm thinking that maybe, but I'm not sure that Rachel is a trusted source of information for cars. So if she's going to try to sell a car book, I'm not sure that she has the right audience, but even if she did, has she proven herself to be an authority in that, to somebody actually trusts their opinion?
You know, I think that's interesting because honestly, like, I could not probably sell a book on car repair or a book on Blue Book value for cars, but however, if I had a car and I drove around, like it was some minivan for Honda, here's my pitch for them, and I proved like this is a great minivan for moms and all that stuff, then that could be a way that it would actually resonate with the audience. It's kind of like knowing where you fit in that spectrum of it, because obviously I'm not going to be selling a book on how to replace a tire on my truck out the side.
Oh. And you know, I'm a huge fan of Lane Amon, and she's a big scrapbooker. And I have friends in her community, but I don't think coming on her webinar to talk about scrapbooking techniques is going to help her make any sales, because even though I'm liked and perhaps even trusted, I'm not sure I bring the value that the audience needs to overcome the kinds of objections that everyone has with every product. So make sure that in your niche that you've proven yourself to be amiable, to be trusted, to be a good source of information, because they want good knowledge. Nobody wants to waste money. They want to trust you. And if somebody buys your book for the very first time, they've already decided that that happened. How that happened, you have to figure out. So then, if somebody bought a book for the first time from you, another thing had to have happened. They had to find and understand the sales page, right? Now, for the very first one, that typically means that you will have to have tested that a little bit. Not every sales page is going to work. I mean, there are emotional triggers, there are psychological triggers, there are ways to say things to make people think a different way. Sometimes benefits of the product that you think are benefits, they think are just features, and they don't actually benefits at all. So for someone to have bought it the first time, usually that means you will have to have tested the sales pages a couple of different ways to see what is it that people want. But more importantly, you can't test it if they can't find it.
And I think in that testing is to make sure that it's still written in whatever voice your platform is, because people, I think people are discerning. They're like, all of a sudden, boom, it's a sales page, and a lot of times people will turn away. But if you can create the content in that sales page to match your own voice, then the selling of the product is so much easier.
So then how do we get started? If we're going to sell a product, and we're trying to get to the point where somebody buys 4 of our next products, what's like step 1? So in ads, for me, step 1 was getting an account and setting it up right so that we could get data. There's really not much else you have to do. But with a product, there's a few steps. Now, the first thing is that you are exchanging money for information or for a product or something. So both of those steps need to be covered. Somehow you have to be able to accept money. And somehow you have to be able to deliver them product. This is like the very basics of the basic. So we have a video, I believe, on how to use PayPal to sell a product without a shopping cart. Very, very simple. Extremely simple. I mean, you can do it in 3 minutes. You can be selling a product on your site. And you could even be collecting the email addresses of those people at the same time. I mean, we're talking 3 minutes. And we can send that video to you. So that would be the way to actually take the money. Now, you have to be able to deliver the product. So delivery is, if you use the PayPal button, then you need to have a URL somewhere on the internet where this product is housed. So if it's a PDF, you can load it up to your WordPress media file. You can load it up to Amazon S3. You can load it somewhere, because when you're filling out the form on the PayPal button, it's going to ask you, where do we redirect the people after they buy? So you want to redirect them to either the download page or the product itself or something. So you need a way to deliver it. Now, we have the email address of the person who bought it sent to Aweber, so that not only do you get redirected to the product or to the download page, but you also get it by email, which cuts down on the number of complaints and questions that we did get the product. So those are the 2 things you have to have. You have to be able to accept money, but you don't need a shopping cart. You don't need anything special. You can, and we encourage, a program that is more robust. But to get started, you just need the PayPal button. And then you have to be able to deliver the product. And then you have to actually have the product. Now, some people pre-sell. Like, we might pre-sell Rachel's book before it actually comes out, in which case we just have to be able to take their money, and then we have to have their address so that we can mail the book. So that is the delivery. And some people pre-sell a product where if 10 people buy it, then they will make it. So you have to be able to accept the money, and then you have to have their email address so that when you make it, you can send it. Either way, it doesn't matter. In all those instances, you have to be able to take money, you have to be able to deliver the product. Now, the product itself, I mean, some people stumble at the product itself. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to make it. But we're talking about something as simple as creating a Word document report, just like you would do in high school, a report. And then you can go on Fiverr or anywhere else, and you can have somebody pretty it up if you want. You can add graphics to Microsoft Word. You can use Publisher, and then you just export it as a PDF. It's as simple as that. Now, remember, in our very first example, the question was, how do we get someone to have bought 4 products? So when we do that, you have to make sure that it is good enough that they're going to want to buy the next one, which means for most people it means it must solve the problem that the title of the book postulated, or that the title of the thing creates. If it doesn't solve the problem, when somebody buys it, then they feel like they got their money lost because they just didn't get it. It doesn't necessarily have to be gorgeous. Look at instruction manuals for things that you buy. As long as the instructions are clear, like if your kid buys a model airplane, the instructions don't have to be beautiful. But if the instructions leave off 6 or 7 steps, then you're furious. They just have to be thorough. So think about that. Is someone going to buy the next book based on this one?
I think the other thing is, when you and I were chatting earlier about this, I gave the example of when you go to a restaurant and you have something that's super awesome the first time, and then you go back again and you order it the second time, and you kind of have that moment of like, is it going to be as good? And when it is as good, then you're like, okay, then it becomes like, then like the third time it's much easier to order something from them or to try something new. So for me, it's this consistency in your branding too. Like, you create a product, the next one should match up with whatever your message is and the quality is, and not skimping and all of that, just so that, because that second chance is someone saying to you, okay, I'm going to give you another chance, and that is almost even more of a make it or break it to get to the third than any other step to me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to order the same.
Oh, be quiet. You just do. You always just look at that.
I don't want to order the same food from the same restaurant.
There's like that's true. Except if you're going to McDonald's. You are not. I get that. You are like, I can't eat it at the same place. I can't go on the same road. I can't do any of that. It's all got to be new every time. Every time. Every time. Like, I want to color in a new road. Let's just take this jaunt. That's an extra 2 hours.
Hey, it's new.
I know. It's alright, it's good. It's fun.
Products is, don't be daunted by products. Like, we're here. If you need help, just ask us. We'll help you put together a product. And the steps to get to somebody having bought the fourth aren't that hard. I mean, at some point in time, we're going to step up. We're going to get a shopping cart. We're going to get something where we can actually add multiple products to the cart. We're going to get something that tracks what products you bought and what products you didn't. We're going to get something that tracks what emails you opened, and if you bought the product, you actually get a follow-up email. So, but to start, you don't need all that to get your feet wet. Because once you get your feet wet and you start making some money, well, then you're going to be motivated to do the rest. But how about we get to that point first? How about we get motivated?
I agree. Don't let starting stop you. I think with my ebook, I even started with an eJunkie site, and you were right. Once I started making money, I'm like, okay, I need that PayPal button in there and all of that. So I think there's always a stumbling block to starting. It's just deciding to go ahead and do it.
So Tracy Roberts was telling me the other day that we were having some problems with BC Prime with people getting logged in and
that was a fun day.
Yeah, not being able to get logged in. Oh. And she said, what's great about problems is it gives you an opportunity to send apology gifts. So if you put out a book that you don't end up liking or you think was inadequate, we have the opportunity to send them a whole campaign on, man, if I could redo it again, it would be like this, and it would be like this, and it would be like this. And so I remade it, and it's attached, and it's for you for free. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about those kinds of problems.
I'm with you.
So the final thing that we're going to talk about, wait, were there questions on that?
Oh, let me go look. Sorry. I was into the whole discussion on products. I'm looking.
Putting my headphones in.
Why, is there echo?
No, you can actually plug in. Just thought I'd put them in.
Okay, let's see. Can you password the URL that you send people to via PayPal? How would you prevent someone from just finding the page and helping themselves? That was Elizabeth.
So that's a defensive question, and I think that you should change your paradigm a little bit. But yes, you can definitely send people a password-protected page. You can password protect any page in WordPress in the publish box. Right where it says publish, there's a button for password protect, and you can click it, and you can assign a password to it, and you can send a person the email with the password. But you have to remember this. Passwords can be passed around. Products can be passed around. Products can be screenshot and passed around. It doesn't really matter. If the mindset is defense, then you'll always be on defense. If the mindset is offense, then you'll always be winning. So some people ask me about what happens if somebody scrapes your content? What do you do? Well, how about this? How about at the end of every single blog post, we put links in there to come get our ebook or get something. And that way, when somebody scrapes our entire thing, there is a call to action in that scrape site to come back and get something, which would be offense, because playing defense to try to stop some scraper from scraping our stuff is going to take us forever, and at no point in time is that ever serving the people who are there on purpose. So in our ebook, how about we put links back to our site? How about we give them an opportunity to come back and download a spreadsheet or a chart or a graphic or a webinar or something? How about we put things in there so that just in case it gets passed around, there are ways to get people back. There are ways to get email addresses. There are ways to upsell. Think offensively. What if 1,000 people got this book on accident? What would we want in it? And put that in it. And then sell it and let people share it freely so that we're not playing defense. And maybe we lose $3 or $7 or $8, but maybe we gain a lot more fans.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Dan, is the amount that you would lose is so minuscule to actually some of the gains that can happen. If that whatever product is creates new readership or opens up new opportunities, I'm certainly not going to say, whoa, you owe me $8 now. I'm going to be like, all right, glad you found it.
Yeah, I used to be in Dory Friends' backlink network, and every week she'd send us a list of places to get backlinks, and they would be tied to my ISP, and there would be a 24-hour period where I could log in and download them, and then it would like self-destruct. And it was unbelievable, and I thought, wow, this is the best. But now I think back and think, I wonder how many hours she worked on that, on putting that system together instead of marketing and figuring out how to get in front of more people.
Mm-hmm.
Any others?
Oh, any other questions? Let me look. Yeah, we had a long discussion about this at Haven, where we talked about specifically what you were saying about making sure that in whatever you create, there is a way for them to come back to your site, even if it is scraped. Are the videos in BC Prime or on YouTube? I think it depends upon which video. Most of them are in BC Prime.
All of them are in BC Prime. There are some that are on YouTube.
Yes, that's kind of what I was. That looks like it's it.
But we can send the ones that we've talked about for sure.
Oh, you know what? I liked this. Eileen said, I think she said she's going to go through all the questions her subscribers have asked her in the last year, and then she's going to make some popcorn. But so anyway, she was basically, what I'm assuming, was talking about going through the questions and then figuring out what she can create. That's cool.
Oh, man. There is so much content in emails that you've answered over the years. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about small sponsors, which is my favorite.
Small sponsors. I know, this one's awesome.
My absolute favorite. I don't dislike the big ones, but there's so much rigmarole involved with big ones.
Bureaucracy, bureaucracy, bureaucracy.
So our first question, because we're going backwards, is what would it take for your small sponsor to have renewed with you for the next contract, for the next month, for the next 2 months, for the next 6 months? What will they have needed from the first time to make that renewal again? Now, we're coming up on our first renewal with XShot, and my parents at Porch Ideas have 4 or 5 sponsors that have never, they've remained with them since the beginning, and they renew every time. So I talked to them a little bit to see what they thought, and they said the number one thing and the very easiest thing is the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
My mom said that they email them. They know where they go on vacation. They know what they're doing. They email, updates of what kinds of things that they're doing on the site. They have actual conversations with the people because they have found small sponsors. Like one's here in Nashville. It's a small family company that sells woodworking products, and they needed to be found better online. So they talked. My parents approached them and said, we'd like to do this for you. And since then, they have continued the relationship. They work together. They both promote each other. It's a good working relationship. It's people being friendly, like working together. That's not going to happen with Walgreens and Target and some of those big places. Some of the people, like I believe Liz Latham has a great relationship with Walmart. She is the kind of person that reaches out and talks to people and creates those friendly connections, and so it's possible. But the smaller companies are just so much easier to work with. So to get them to go from month 5 to month 6, that relationship needs to be there, that understanding. The second part was that understanding of the expectations. Sometimes the small companies think they're going to put an ad on there, they're going to sell 10,000 units. But, that comes with the conversation that you have with them at the beginning.
That is a great point about the expectations, because when you were saying like they think the ad is going to sell it right away, I think back to when I went to Haiti and I wrote about that. Like the immediate return for that company wasn't really in the first month or the first weeks. It's like this several years return because of it. So I think being really honest and forthright and laying that out in the beginning and seeing that that kind of looking at the end backwards is super smart.
And you're smart. And most small companies in this realm aren't. This is not their thing. So if you can help them, help them set up the Google Analytics on their site if it's a small company, and you guys are going to partner together, then you can help them explain the expectations. You can show them, like my parents' site sends one of their sponsors half that sponsor's traffic every month. Half of it comes
from cool.
So being able to show them on their site, look, half of the people came here. This is maybe why people didn't buy, or these are the kinds of things we should work on your site. I'm helping get the traffic there, but you still have to close the deal. So, those kinds of things, understanding expectations. And then the third thing, if a sponsor is going to flip from one month to the next, is being able to show that you're providing the same great content and quality and engagement with the audience that you have from the very beginning. So making sure that you didn't just change something or stop posting or anything like that. They're going to go from one month to the next. You've got to show that you're holding up your end of the bargain.
I think it even goes beyond holding up the end of the bargain. I love how your parents do. It's no wonder you're such a good friend. That getting to know them, creating that relationship, even looking out for different ways that you can. It's that Tom Jackson thing again, exceeding expectations. Like you see him on Facebook, maybe just doing something above and beyond, because that shows the level of investment that you have with that company.
Yeah, definitely. So then, what happens? How do we get a company to sponsor us who's never sponsored us before? Maybe we've had other sponsors, but this company never has. So the first thing that is good to have is to have a plan, is to have the confidence to know this is how my site works, and this is what my people like, and this is what I would like to do for you. Now, some of that should be rooted in your experiences, perhaps with other sponsors that you've had before. So when you have a sponsor, taking down notes, keeping track of things, being able to relay experiences and conversations so that you can talk to future sponsors is important. You've got to document your business, be able to leverage moments so that you can use them in the future.
Testimonials, recording those, keeping track of them. Like at every Blogging Concentrated event, I document the X-Shot part of it, partially because I want to give the social, the recognition because we really love that product, but also to keep our own archive and document of what we've done because we appreciate working with them.
And we're using that with other sponsors to show this is the kinds of things that we do. We're not the kind of people ourselves. We're not the kind of people who just give you a sidebar ad. We really want the kind of sponsor who's a partner. Who's somebody with an X-Shot will tweet our stuff and they will share our moments and they will help us promote something. Like we're going to Dallas next week. They'll help say, hey, anybody in Dallas, go to Blogging Concentrated. So it's a relationship together. So that was. Oh, and the other thing was, if you can over-deliver in all the time, and you can show that, that has real value. So if you can show that you're really doing things to help the company, like you really are interested in them getting more exposure or making more money or whatever it is that they need, you can show that you've gone up above and beyond. I mean, that does wonders. I've heard many times the stories of a FedEx employee who will drive 300 miles overnight because somebody wanted to get their package the next day, and like they missed the train or something, or they missed the van to the plane, and they'll get it there next day. They'll get it there, and that whole thing for me since the beginning, knowing that there are people at FedEx that do that. Those stories are powerful. They make you think, wow, maybe this is somebody we should work with.
And I think also keeping that level of brand loyalty there, unless you're obviously a site that's just the whole thing is review after review or sponsored. But if you're gonna, I always give the example of, because I do a lot of gluten-free stuff, that if I was to start endorsing a lot of gluten stuff, then all of a sudden the credibility is gone with not only my readers but with the companies that I work with, because they'd be like, what is she doing? So there's that line of knowing what your readers like and balancing it and being authentic and kind of being picky about who you work with, so that in all of it works together for not only yourself but the company but also your readers.
So let's take one more step back. What about getting our very first sponsor? Not the sponsor with us for the first time, but our very first one. So our number one key to getting your very first sponsor is to go after them. Is to actually find a company that you already love and you want to go after them. Now, don't go after Walgreens if you've got 200 people to your site a day and you have nothing to tell them. Find someone else that you love. Build your way up. Pay your dues. So go after the audiences. Now, my mom said their very first sponsor, they sent a homemade greeting card to the company. They hand wrote, we love your company, this is what we do, homemade, like out of construction paper with a porch on it, with a door that opened.
Your mom also made me my own little pillow thing with the buckwheat in it that I can heat in the microwave. Your parents rock.
So she went over, she went above and beyond to even propose something.
Yes.
A card. Now, another one that they got, they actually personally visited the company. And that was recently in California. Another one, they wrote a letter and mailed it. And they didn't hear back for 7 or 8 months. But eventually that person got around and said, you know what, that letter that you wrote to me about what you do and you know, what you believe about your audience was really something that we want to talk to you further about. So go after them. Don't think that you have a low Alexa rating, because 99% of the world has no idea what that means or even cares. Mm-hmm. The only people who care on this planet are agencies who have some checklist that they have to fill out so they can cover their ass when they're trying to figure out who they hired for their company to be the sponsors.
It's so true. Like, not, I mean, because there's always going to be somebody bigger or somebody smaller or something like that, but if you can establish that type of relationship and connection, I think back to the story when I worked with Oric, and I got to meet with the CEO one time at Blistum. And they had loved, because I'd written this post that was really authentic and stuff, and I sat down and we started chatting, and he knew who I was, but beyond that he said, you know, my mom reads your site too. And at that moment I kept thinking, whoa, it goes beyond just delivering and saying this is a cool product. It's like that investment of getting to know them personally and thanking them, and prior to this I had written them a letter thanking them for the opportunity. So don't let numbers hold you back, because this was in my very early years. This is about 2.5 years ago that this happened.
So, this is going to be controversial, I think.
Controversial?
But you have to be willing to risk. Mm-hmm. And that means if you want to work with Oric and they're willing to give you a shot, but they don't want to pay you, sometimes you have to be willing to risk. Because if they're willing to take a risk on somebody new who's never had a sponsor, then maybe you should be willing to take a risk on what you can do for them. Because remember in that next part where I said, how do we get that sponsor who's never worked with us before, but maybe it's not your first sponsor? And part of that was, you know, talking about maybe some of your experiences. How do we get those experiences unless we build them? You know, maybe it's your favorite local company in town, or maybe it's Pudding Pops. But whatever it is, if you have an opportunity to work with someone and they say, you know what, we'll do something with you, but we're only going to give you product, then maybe you take that risk. But you don't take that risk because you're the kind of blogger who's going to work for product all the time. But maybe you take that risk because you know to get to the next one, it'd be really nice if I had a good first one. If I figured out my own systems, if I figured out how I can help, if I was able to do this well enough that I got a testimonial or experiences or some data that I can share for the next one. You are allowed to work for free if working for free means the next one you'll do a lot better with. I know some people say never work for free, but some people say don't write for the Huffington Post because they don't get paid. But sometimes things that give you clout and things that, you know, can move you up the ladder require us as business owners to sacrifice a little bit.
And I think, I mean, it's not even sacrificing. First of all, I still love my Oric vacuum that I have, because I think, well, when would I ever get a $670 vacuum? But beyond that, I know that they gave an opportunity. It's because it is really easy to think, oh, I should only do this for $50 or $100 or $500. But if I had come in with that attitude, I was the first blogger that they had ever worked with. I don't know if that relationship would have developed and worked out at that point. So I get the idea of not working for free, but it is exactly what you said, weighing it, and will this create more opportunities for me, not only with that company, but future opportunities as well.
No, we paid our way to get out to Boston to speak.
Yes, we did.
At UMass Boston at their social media day. They asked us to come speak. And we paid our way. And we didn't make any money from that event. And I don't regret it, because it's helping us now when we're working with other big schools and other big, you know, organizations that we spoke at that event. And
yeah. You know, Dan, too, the other thing is, like, just like, because someone could say, well, they should have paid you, but the opportunity, like you said, to present at UMass Boston, I would do it again in a heartbeat, to be able to have that on the resume, to have that part of blogging concentrated, to have that relationship established from a relationship that was developed a couple years ago. So that is, again, another one where the initial investment maybe seems like, whoa, what were you doing? But the final outcome, it produces many great things.
So we're going to finally step back to the very last stage. And that is, what if you're just getting started and you don't have any sponsors or anybody in the wings? What should you be doing? So the very first thing is to make sure that your messaging everywhere on the internet is correct. If you are a craft blogger, wait, what did I find yesterday? I reviewed a site where she was teaching scrapbooking with Paint Shop Pro. Is that right? Paint Pro?
I think you did a whole one without me yesterday.
Oh.
No, sorry.
So she helps people use this program called Paint Shop, I think. Paint Shop Pro. So that's what she teaches, like this software program and how you use it for digital scrapbooking. So in order for her to actually write blog posts that get engagement and get comments, she needs to attract people who actually want to use or are using this Paint Shop program. Attracting all scrapbookers, it doesn't make a lot of sense because some people are never going to do digital scrapbooking, and some people are going to use some other program. So she needs to make sure that her messaging everywhere is that she is the expert at teaching Paint Shop Pro, and if you want to do digital scrapbooking, she's the place to be. Because when the messaging is right, then all of a sudden, the people who read our blog posts are the exact people that need to be reading them, and they're the ones who are going to have the questions and the comments and the hoorays. And now we have a community that people can see, because sponsors are going to look at your site and they're going to want to see something. They're going to see evidence of engagement. They're going to want to see evidence of content. They're going to want to see evidence of reach. They just want to get there and have this comfortable feeling that this is somebody they would like to represent them. So messaging is critical. We need to bring the right people to the site. The wrong people, if you do giveaways where you're just bringing like 50,000 people to your Facebook page for no reason, and then you end up with 50,000 people and nobody commenting on anything because nobody cares about digital scrapbooking. We've missed a step. We haven't been building the mountain. We've been building these little molehills all over the place, and the little molehills never add up to a mountain. So
no, they slow you down too. That's the other thing, is because I'm thinking back to Facebook or any of those other sites, is you really need the people that are invested in it. And I constantly say that it is stronger to go to a sponsor with a smaller Facebook page but great engagement than a Facebook page with a lot of numbers but small engagement, because what they really need and what they want is they want a community of people that when you say, hey, I love this, they're like, yeah, I want to listen, I want to learn more, because that's what makes brand loyalty.
Now, if you're just starting out and we get our messaging right, so we can actually bring the right people to our page, then it might behoove you to actually send a letter to a company that you may endeavor to want to sponsor you someday. So 4 years ago, I sent a note to XShop. 4, maybe 5. And
that is so cool.
I sent a video of me using the XShot at NAMS 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, I love what you guys do, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to sponsor me someday.
That's so cool.
If you can think like that, who would you like to impress? Who would you love to work with? Don't pitch them. Send them a note. I'm new. I'm just building my community. This is what I believe.
And share their product beforehand. That's the other thing. Like, if you like it, I think back to Udi's Bread. I was tweeting out pictures and stuff long before I worked with them just because I loved the product. And I didn't even realize it would segue into a relationship or a sponsored opportunity. But then so I think look for that opportunity, just like you were, Dan, with the XShot, saying, look, I love this product. This is something that I want to share with everybody else.
And 4 years later, they're one of our sponsors. And I've
met with them in Salt Lake City.
Yes, and I sent them letters occasionally and said, hey, I really like what you guys do. Someday I'm going to come knocking. So,
which we did.
Think about that. I mean, there's people that you already love, you already like. You're a scrapbooker. I'm sure there's companies that make the binders that you like. You tell them. Say, hey, I talk about your stuff all the time. I'm building my community. I just wanted to say I love you guys, and sometime down the road, I might come and see if we can do something together. It's never too late to start building some relationship that could benefit you later. And then my last one I had was, and I sort of touched on it, was build a mountain and not a molehill, not molehills. what I really meant was, when I wrote it down, if you're just beginning, is to look at every single decision that you have to make through the filter of where you're going. So if you're hoping to become the best basket weaver on the planet, then if somebody gives you a giveaway opportunity or wants you to start a raspberry pruning website, or you get the idea of starting some other kind of website just because you think it's going to make you money, or you're going to start Teespring and you're going to start selling shirts for the Green Bay Packers, think about the mountain. Where are you going? And are all those little things actually helping you get there? Is each one of those helping to build the same kind of audience that will leverage your eventual goal? If you're starting from the beginning, make sure that you're focused and realize this is what I believe about the world, about my audience, about my niche. And I want other people to see it, and I'm going to show them. And then when a sponsor comes knocking, tell them, look, this is what I do. This is the kind of messaging I have all over the web because this is the person I'm attracting. And you can see from this messaging that the only people who would follow me are the kind of people who are going to buy your product. And you can tell from these products that I've built that these people are all geared and ready for what you have to offer. Show them from the beginning that you've been focused and that you are after one market, their market, and you want to work with them to build it.
I have nothing to add. It was so well said. It was like inspirational.
Nice.
I know. Nice.
So, were there any questions on that since we have our lovely chat box?
We'll get that fixed next time. It's on the to-do list already. Not really. There was just some discussion about tracking tweets, and then Tiffany and Ashley and Liz had a discussion about solo ads and stuff. But Liz asked, what was the company we talked about a long ago that tracks tweets? Was that Keyhole?
Yeah, keyhole.co. They do a very good job.
They do. We've actually talked with them, and they're pretty passionate about what they do.
Now, keyhole.co is a good example. So we contacted them about sponsoring us, and they said no. And not no like in a negative way, but no like we're like a young startup and we're not putting our money anywhere yet. So I know, and I've sent the guy a couple of notes that say, hey, we talked about you to this group, and like even after tonight, I'm going to say, hey, we talked about you in the webinar tonight. And then next year, when we're looking again, I'm going to send him another note that says, hey, we'd still like to work with you guys. And we still, as you've heard over the last few months, every once in a while I send you a note that says we talk about you. What is there that we could do? So even though we cold called the guy and he said no, I'm already working on that relationship for next year or the year after or whenever he's ready. I want to be that guy.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember back to how we got the initial contact with Keyhole, because I remember it was last fall. But what I wanted to encourage everybody to do is sometimes you get those like pitches in that you're like, I don't even understand this, is I just keep them all in a file. And whether they're from Finding Joy, I'll look and think, well, maybe that would work with Blogging Concentrator, or we kind of do the other way, is to not throw it out immediately, but just to keep it and mull it over. There could be potential. And Dan, what you do with emailing him it's great, because I see that email come through, and he's always super grateful about it. So somewhere that you're building up a reserve, or you're building up that loyalty, like, hey, we haven't forgotten about you.
Any other questions in there?
I'm looking.
All right, so we talked about products and ads, one kind of ads. You can sell private ads in the sidebar. And small sponsors. Now, one thing that we didn't talk about was, well, most of those things we talked about. I did want to mention that our next month's call is going to be 2 parts. One call, but like this is 3 parts.
And you wanted it fun. That was what we discussed. You said we got to come up with something fun again.
What we're going to do next time is we're going to do a call called How to Get Comfortable with Reddit and Stumble Upon.
I didn't know you titled it that. I'm going to write it down.
Yes.
Excellent.
I was going to call it How to Do Reddit and Stumble Upon, but what I realized is we all do Facebook and Twitter because we get it. We know all the stuff and how to do it. We're comfortable. So I thought next time we're going to do how to get comfortable with Reddit and StumbleUpon. How do we get to the point where we grasp the things and we know the buttons and we know where to go, we know what to do. So that's what we're going to do. Those two things. And I might bring Annie in. I can't think of her name. Annie Lewis. She's a StumbleUpon expert.
Yeah, you know, from that podcast, what did we come up with? Like, StumbleUpon had 54% growth in the last year, so I don't think we should eliminate StumbleUpon. I definitely think let's
so if she's not
go back and look at it.
I'm going to pay her to teach me the stuff that she knows. Because I'd really like her to teach it, but if she's not going to, then I'm going to pay her to teach me. And then we'll teach you. The Video Riser program is going strong. I think we have 2 more videos left. Now, I'm pretty excited about this next one. I'm going to be making a video on how to make chapter settings in YouTube, which I think is fantastic, and I haven't used it nearly enough, but we're going to go back and do like the Open Graph video. So the Open Graph video was an hour, and it's daunting for some people. So we're going to use annotations to put a chapter menu in the left-hand side of the video that says, here's how, you know, click here if you want to see us troubleshooting problems. Click here if you want to see the installation. You know, click here for this. So we're going to show you how to make chapter settings in your YouTube videos. I think we have that left. We already did custom thumbnails. We did custom subscribe buttons. We showed you how to set up the intro video, how to make an intro video go across every single video on your entire YouTube channel, even if you loaded them up 3 years ago, how to add a new intro video to all of them.
It's cool.
Video strategy.
Video programming. It's awesome.
So hopefully you are taking advantage of that and you're getting your YouTube channel in shape, because I can almost guarantee you we've covered everything major. There's just some cool little minor things that we're doing so that your channel is totally tweaked out.
And you know, going back to the products and the sponsored posts, we just talked about the statistic, like 70% of all brands are looking for a video marketing and all of that, and they find, what was it, 74% return on video marketing? So
yeah.
Definitely do not think that video is unattainable.
In Video Analytics 201, I show you how you can actually give your sponsors the statistics on the videos that they have sponsored. So I show you how to make groups in analytics so that you can just say, hey, here's the videos that where we talked about you, here's the analytics of those specific ones. And that information's hidden from everyone. It's only in the dashboard, it's not like a playlist where everybody can see it. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then what else do we have going? This weekend I'm going to BloggyCon and you're going to Beachpreneurs.
Yeah, where it's warm.
And then next weekend we're going to Type A. No, we're going to Thursday Atlanta Meetup Group.
Yes, Tiffany Wong, yes. And then
Type A.
For just this brief window, like crazy, like come and speak. Yes.
And then we're going to Blogging Concentrated in Dallas. And then we're going back to
at 10 o'clock at night.
Then we're going back to Atlanta to finish Type A.
Yeah. Why?
And then we have Phoenix and
the dancing.
Phoenix and Buffalo and Toronto coming up.
Yeah, that's a crazy trip too, because we fly to Buffalo, drive to Toronto, speak at Blistum in Canada there, and then drive back to Buffalo and fly to Phoenix and speak at Blended in Phoenix, and then do Blogging Concentrated there.
And we're actually going to Mexico on that trip.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to take you to get some blue shrimp.
Excellent. I'm sure we'll tweet it somewhere. So you might hear a little bit of noise. I have little ones walking.
Can you believe that in Rocky Point, Mexico, they have 6 shrimp to the pound? 6.
I'm excited about 6 shrimp to the pound.
Oh, yay, there's little people.
Yes. My time limit was like 9:10 with them, and I got the message like, whoa, Rachel, it's 9:20. And I said, just bring them back. It'll wrap things up with cute little face will come in there.
So I'll say next month is getting comfortable with Reddit and StumbleUpon, and then in November we're doing an entire month of the marketing calendar blueprint product we had. We're revamping the whole thing.
What?
And redoing it.
I'm telling you, they're like
ice cream.
How many are there? What is it, like gremlins?
It is. They just keep coming. There's all these people watching, guys. You're on live. Okay, step away.
That's some ice cream.
Yeah, they're gonna try to like get ice cream right now because they know I'm busy. So it's gonna be, can I have ice cream? Can I stay up late? You want ice cream?
Yeah.
It's mint chocolate chip.
All right. So next week for BC Prime, we're going to interview Melissa Reyes about one particular thing. Interviewed me. She built this website around the interview or the page. I got more tweets than I got for Entrepreneur on Fire. Like,
she was crazy. Her website, the way that she built it, was totally, totally awesome. I agree.
We're only going to talk about that. We're just going to say, how did you do this? How did you go to do this? How did you get so many people to tweet? So that's what we're going to do for BC Prime. How did she do this awesomeness? As soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, we got to do this.
All right. I think I'm out.
Looks like it's going crazy over there.
It is starting the ice cream chaos, and I need to get some before it's gone.
All right.
So,
thanks for coming.
All right, thank you to everybody. Thank you.
And next time we're going to have the chat box and the video in Blogging Concentrated finished forever.
Just wait. Thank you.